So there have been a couple of issues with the Eurorack sink case. I wanted my modules to be facing me when I open the case, but stupidly forgot that sometimes I want to stand it up vertically. So I need to flip everything around. Now that means that the power is actually, the inlet is in the wrong place, because obviously if I stand it up, now I end up with the inlet up there, whereas actually I want it down there. The good news is that means that the negative rails are now down, so the minuses are down, which is a bonus because that's how it should be, and it means the box headers are facing to the right, which again it should be. So what I'm going to have to do is take the frame out, undo all the bolts, lift it out, flip it, not flip it over, sorry, drill a new power entry down in that bottom left corner. I'll leave the other one there because it gives me options in the future. And then the other faults we're going to try and sort out are, it doesn't quite line up straight. So the gap here is quite small, and then the gap here is quite big. That should be a simple fix. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slot these two holes on this side, and then I can slide it back and refix it. So that shouldn't be too difficult. And then obviously the power entry is going to come through here. So I'm going to drill a couple of big holes here and let the power entry come in there. The other problem I've had is that analog and digital doesn't always play nicely. So what I'm going to do is this center rail, I'm going to make into an analog rail and put it on a separate power supply, so it'll be entirely isolated from the other two. That's going to have another bonus, which is I think that the power's struggling on the minus rail side. So in theory, the frequency central root masters deliver minus 500 milliamps, but I think it's struggling on the minus side. When I go onto modular grid and check out the power, I need about minus 575 milliamps. So by splitting that, it should cure that problem, and it also means there won't be any noise interference at all from the analog to the digital or vice versa. So that's my plan. Also, this little connector block I bought is not man enough for the job, and the wires don't quite fit in it. So I've got some new ones, which I'm going to try instead. So I'm going to crack on with that. So I've drilled these out to make them into slots, which means there's play, which means that now the gap is closed up on the front and it's equal, which is much nicer to look at. So that's that. Next thing to do is to drill the power entry holes in that corner. So I'll do that and be right back. So this is where I'm up to. I've blanked off the original power entry just with a bolt. Could do with a shorter bolt really, but it'll do. I'll probably put some heat shrink over that just in case. I now have two power entries. So I've got a 1 amp power entry going to the middle board, which will become the analog rail in the middle, so that it'll reach up and down, which means I can put the modules where I want. And then the other power entry, 2 to 3 amps, this board and this board. And then on the side, I've just had to write some numbers, just because. And then obviously here, the bolts to hold the chassis in place will go there. So we're getting there. So there we are, all kind of plugged in and ready to go. Had a few little problems, but it's all sorted now. So I had a bit of an issue with power, because when I was powering it up, a couple of the modules, clouds down here and the algo, were not booting up properly, so you had to power cycle it. I know that's not uncommon, but it really bothered me, just in case it was doing any damage to the modules really. So I have split the power supply. I've now got 2 transformers. I've got one that's delivering about 1.5 amps to one rail, and then the other one's delivering 2.5 amps to the other 2 rails. And the one that's got the 1.5 amps is analog only, because I've always had some problems with some of these modules talking to each other. So the digital models sometimes interfere with the analog modules. So that's kind of cured it completely. So I'm really, really happy. I've wired up a really bad patch because I'm rubbish with modular synths. And I know there's loads of videos of people making noise, and I'm probably just another one of them. But loads of stuff going on. And we'll give it a play and see what it's like. It's pretty awful, but there you go. So, just turn up the monitor. Oh, I'm muted, aren't I? And there you go. That's it.